Well, welcome back, and if you're new, welcome. I'm Daryl from Jackson Fishing Team. Primarily, I try to fish, fly fish out of a kayak, the Kuzaks, but I'm tying up some trout flies. Probably be more wade fishing than anything, but this will be the second fly in this series. It's going to be a hopper, grasshopper, and made from foam and some other materials, and we'll take a look at it and explain the materials as I go along. All right. Well, this one here is the, I don't know, I'll call it a very simple grasshopper pattern. You know, I'm going to try to use it as a indicator for trout with maybe a dropper of a nymph or something lightweight like that. But you never know, it might catch something. It'll probably also be pretty good for bass and brim and things like that on there. And this one I'm going to tie is a brown one. The hook I'm using is a Core 1760. It's a hopper, size 8. And that's kind of a curved hook. Probably an all-purpose dry fly nymph, terrestrial type thing. And I'm going to go ahead and debarb that. And what I normally do is I just take a pliers and squeeze that barb down. Now some people use their jaws, but that's up to you. I've heard horror stories about the jaws breaking, things like that on there. Let's see if I can get that more centered. I thought I did. All right. Thread I'm going to use is some 6/0 in olive. Now I'm tying a brown one. You could use brown thread, whatever you want to do. I'm just making this really simple with materials that I have out right now. So you could match the materials that I'll be describing, you know, to the fly that you're tying, if you want to be that artsy about it. And sometimes I get that way. I feel like, you know, try to make it look like that. Next I'm going to do is, it's kind of more of an underbody, but I'm going to use some 4 or 5 strands of this Peacock Herl. And the idea is that this will help securing that foam better to prevent it from twisting. And I'm just trying to make the tips even here. It might not matter. And then I'm going to cut off those curlies. And I'm just going to tie that right on top of the hook. Now you could wrap this over the hook, or you can, I'm going to strengthen it up by wrapping the Peacock Herl around the thread. But that probably doesn't matter either when we get done. And then we'll wrap this up towards the eye and then back. And then I'm going to trim off these little hanging parts here. And then position my thread halfway between where the barb was and the point. And I'm going to take some brown foam. It's about, I think I cut these at 3/8 of an inch wide. And you can use a straight scissors, but I kind of like a curved scissors to give this tail part of the hopper. And it kind of, I don't know, that looks pretty good, doesn't it? And basically the tail's going to be out back behind there about the hook point to the curve length, or maybe a little longer. But anyway, you got it. It's not very long tail. Give it a couple turns there, and I'll lift this up, trying to lock this in a little bit better. And I could use some brown dubbing, but I'm using some olive rabbit. And it's, you can see it's not very much. And this dubbing basically is to help prevent the cutting the thread through that foam, which sometimes it'll do that, especially when you're tying pretty tight against it. And then I'm just going to wrap up about right here and put another segment in. And normally, if you notice on some bugs there, that, you know, back here it's going to be a little longer, then this gets a little shorter, and then right up where the head's going to be is a little bit shorter. So, you know, they don't have to be the same length. Again, I'm going to put some dubbing on here. A little bit more. You can see it doesn't take much. And then we'll tighten that down. And we'll make another little segment here. And right there, we're going to use some deer hair for the wings. You know, a cream, white to tan on there, whatever color you want. but since I'm maybe tying these to use sometimes as an indicator, or to help me to see the fly a little bit better if it's out there. And then we're gonna clean that out. Take this little comb here, and then we'll stack that. Stack that so the tips are even. Just to show you here where the tips aren't very even there. And we'll give it a few little taps. And then I always, like I said before, I've always opened this up in the direction that, get rid of that one, that the tips are facing the direction that I want them to take out, so I don't have to handle it so much. And kind of pull out any, and I want this wing to be the length back to the tail. You know, grasshoppers have long wings. And then I'm just going to trim that off. And I'm going to tie that right there. And pull on it to and then to help hold that in there in case it doesn't, I'm just going to take some head cement and we'll fold this back to create our head. And we'll lift this up and cut that for a collar. Next we're going to do is I'm going to use some brown rubber legs to make legs out of it. And I want the back legs to be just as long to that tail. Kind of 3 loose wraps. And then I'm going to slide this over to the other side. And I'm going to trim, make sure these are the length I want, and I'm going to trim this a little short for the front legs. And put a little bit more dubbing. And then we'll whip finish under the head there. And then I'm going to do is I'm going to, where that Peacock Herl is and all this dubbing, I'm just going to soak some UV in there. And that'll help secure that foam in place. And there you have it. A simple hopper pattern. You know, you can tie some up in green, in yellow, pink, whatever you want. But it's a good little fly. Alright, well that's a little grasshopper pattern. The next one I'm going to probably tie up for the trout patterns will probably be some emerger on there, and maybe have a little foam in that as well. But give them a try. Tie them up. Let me know how they work. And nothing better than catching a trout or a fish on your own fly that you've tied yourself. All right, I'm Daryl, and we'll see you on the water.